You are about to enter the world of urban legends, where fact is often stranger than fiction. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between truth and urban legend. On Urban Legends, we bring you 3 remarkable tales. 2 are just urban myths, but one story, however unlikely, actually happened. Can you spot the truth? Not par for the course. A golfer has a fatal encounter at a water hazard. Sewer surfing. A man is flushed miles through a city sewer system and lives. Identity theft. When she's mistaken for a patient, a woman becomes a prisoner in a mental institution. 3 incredible stories, but only one is true. Can you tell legend from reality? Watch all 3 and then decide. We'll tell you if you're right at the end of the show. First up, a deadly water hazard. West Palm Beach, Florida. The Palm and Dune Golf and Country Club. Meet David Lodbell, Paul Miles, and Kenny Boyle. Real estate entrepreneurs and avid golfers.
Hey, Kenny. Hey, Paul. And who's got my beer? Oh, you just...
This trio used to be a foursome, as this home video shows.
What? Hey, look, come here. Give me that thing. Give me that thing. There he is. There's the man.
The 4th man was Scott McDonald. This is his story.
And where are those ladies?
July 2004. The 4 are out on the course for another round, except Scott's having a lousy day. It happens to all of them from time to time, but today, Scott can't seem to cope.
It didn't seem like he could really focus. He wasn't concentrating too well. I think he was really getting pretty ticked off with himself.
He could swing and he could hit hard, but he could never really get the ball to go where he wanted it to.
Scotty's losing, and the stress is getting to him. His frustration builds to the boiling point.
Well, at the 5th hole, he was teeing off, and the ball went straight into a water hazard. And he was, steaming mad. He just, he went nuts. Yeah, we were all freaked out. We had never seen Scotty like that.
Scotty went even further.
In front of all of us, he just walked right into the water hole, went to get his clubs.
We just went, come on, man, this is ridiculous. Let's go, forget about it. Once he had something set in his mind, that was it. He just couldn't let it go.
Scotty ignores his friends, so they move on to the next hole, figuring he'll catch up. They finish their round and make their way to the clubhouse to wait for their friend.
We just figured he's still hacking away through the fairways. Any minute, gonna come around the corner, cussing and ranting, and just sit down and join us back at the clubhouse.
One more Saturday over?
That was awesome.
Who does this remind you of?
As time passes, the guys become increasingly concerned by Scotty's no-show.
I think you should call his phone.
All right,
Wasn't answering.
where the hell are you?
A little odd for him. He always answers his cell.
Having fun right now.
Yeah, we figured we'd better go out and look for him.
They make their way back to the spot where they left Scotty. They find his clubs, some still in the water. Some of his clothes are on the bank, along with the cell phone he would never leave behind. Concerned and completely baffled, the guys report Scotty's disappearance to the club. Police are called in immediately, and the search begins. 2 days later, David finally gets word from the police.
And they had told me what had happened, that they found Scotty.
Police had responded to another golfer's report, a sighting of an alligator on the green near the water hazard on the 5th hole. Authorities located the animal, then tranquilized it. It had to be removed from the course as reptile behavior can be unpredictable and dangerous. Meet reptile expert Andrew Lentini.
These animals are stealth predators. They will lurk in murky waters where you just can't see the animal, and the only thing exposed is just the two eyes and the nostrils up. And a lot of animals will approach a body of water and not see the danger that's there until it's too late. And these animals literally explode out of the water. They're very powerful animals, and when they want to move quickly, they're lightning fast.
Noting the bulge in the stomach of the 16.5-foot reptile and one missing golfer reported 2 days earlier, police decide to put it down. Inside the belly of the beast, a gruesome discovery: a partially digested human arm and torso. Fingerprint records match those of the missing Scotty.
Looking back on it now, I mean, could we do things different? Yeah, I wish that we had, but you'd never think, I mean, on a golf course that something like that could happen.
To the contrary, this story proves that anything can happen on a golf course. But is this story a hole-in-one or just full of holes? You don't have to decide just yet. We have 2 more stories for your consideration after this mini-myth. Mini-myth number 446, twisting my arm. On October 25th, 1997, a mass tug-of-war contest was held at a park along the Keelong River in Taiwan. Over 1,600 participants joined in the contest, exerting over 175,000 pounds of force on a 3-inch thick nylon rope. It was a very strong rope, but the tug-of-war men were stronger still, and when the rope snapped, 2 men's arms were literally ripped clean out of their sockets by the force of the other contestants yanking the rope in the other direction. Ouch. But did this really happen, or are we pulling your leg? It was totally true. Both men underwent 7 hours of surgery to have their arms successfully reattached. On Urban Legends, you'll see 3 stories. 2 of them never happened. But one story is true, and it's up to you to figure it out. Could it be the one about the golfer and the deadly water hazard? Or can it be our next story about a man who's flushed through a sewer and lives? Cannes, France. This picturesque resort city of 68,000 people on the French Riviera is known for its beaches, sun, and the annual film festival. And the man in this death-defying story could star in his own real-life horror movie. Meet Cannes resident and motorcycle enthusiast, 56-year-old André Messager. His harrowing tale begins in a torrential downpour in the early morning hours of September 9, 2005. Driving rain had reduced visibility to 0, and the streets were turned into rivers. André had just delivered his motorbike to a repair shop and was running through the streets to return home. He didn't realize the raging torrents had lifted a storm drain cover directly in front of him. André is plunged deep under the scenic streets of Cannes, falling 8 feet into the raging and churning currents of the underground sewer pipes. He is injured, stunned, and horrified to find himself in this predicament.
Alors là, j'ai réalisé qu'il n'y avait rien à faire.
I had fallen down into this torrent. It was like a washing machine. I realized there was nothing I could do. I had torn my arm and whacked my head. I'd fallen down, legs everywhere, ripped my hand to pieces.
He fights to hold on, but the slippery surfaces provide absolutely no grip. But he realizes he's holding on to something. It's his helmet. Without thinking, he jams it on his head and readies himself for what's to come.
So I crossed my arms over my chest, like this. I remember it was like a really quick toboggan in the pitch black.
He is tossed from side to side like a rag doll, along with debris, sludge, and human waste.
At one point, I was literally like a ping pong ball. I hit something like a bit of concrete, my shoulder hit it, and there was a massive crack. And I felt my shoulder pop out, and then it popped back in again.
The strong current sweeps him along. His head is bashed against the walls, but his helmet protects him.
The only thing I could think of was swimming and getting hold of something, so I swam like a crazy man, even though my shoulder was completely ruined.
But luckily for Andre, someone has seen him disappear down the hole. Meet Loelia Pissot.
I was there early that morning. I saw a man run up and fall into the sewer. It was just unreal. I couldn't believe it. I thought, we won't see him again.
Loelia calls for help. The fire department is the first to arrive. Meet firefighter Frédéric Patoret.
We saw the spot where he had fallen, and we realized very quickly, because there was a very strong current, that there was no way we could go in to see what had happened. It was far too dangerous. At first, we tried to follow the sewers on the surface to see if we could see where he might emerge further on down. But then we couldn't do that anymore because it was all underground.
Andre has been in the sewer for only 5 minutes, but he's traveled almost a mile and a half. What he doesn't know is that he's quickly heading to his final destination, the open sea. Mustering his strength and his wits, he grabs hold of a ledge, just in the nick of time.
I called for help, and I saw this face. She looked down, and she nearly fainted of shock as she said, "What are you doing down there?" And I said, "I've fallen in the sewers. Go and get the fire department."
Andre is found, but he's still trapped below ground. But rescue crews can't get to Andre at the point where he's been discovered. They have to look further away.
About 200 meters away, there was a much larger opening where we could access the tunnel he had been in.
When I saw the rescue team and the light, I said, finally, that's it. It's over. The nightmare is over.
C'est fini le cauchemar.
But Andre has to hang on for 2 more hours before firemen can finally free him. Injured and soaking, but happy to be alive. His helmet turns out to be a lifesaver. But was this sewer slide story true? You don't need to decide just yet. There's one more story to come. We'll tell you if you're right at the end of the show. While you're waiting, take this instant mini-myth challenge. Mini-myth number 52. The Headless Bikeman. Memphis, 1972. Motorcyclist Danny Carvalho is decapitated when a sheet of metal fell off a truck. Danny's bike continued driving past the truck with his headless body at the controls. The driver saw this and promptly had a heart attack, resulting in a fatal crash. Gruesome, but is it true? No, it's false. The horror story involving a headless motorcyclist has been around since the 70s. It's our own fascination with gruesome death that keeps this myth alive. On Urban Legends, we'll present 3 stories. 2 are myths, but 1 actually happened. You've seen the story of the golfer who probably wished he'd landed in a sand trap, and the man washed into a sewer who lived to tell the tale. But now it's time for our 3rd story, the woman who's mistaken for a patient and locked in a mental institution. Guess the real story, and we'll tell you if you're right at the end of the show. Budapest, Hungary, 2000. The Erdos Institute for the Mentally Ill is home to Magda Salasi, a woman who has suffered a mental breakdown after the death of her husband. She has only one surviving relative. Meet librarian Suzanne Salasi.
Her husband, he dies in accident at work. He works in the mines, and he was crushed by a cart.
The hospital is bleak, overcrowded, and underfunded, but it's the only option for her cousin.
I brought you a cake. I visit, but she's out of her mind. She does not know I'm there.
Suzanne's visits become less frequent, and although Magda is her only relative, she decides never to go back.
My own parents are gone, no boyfriend, children. So it was a lonely time for me.
November 2005. Suzanne's quiet life with her books was about to change with one phone call.
I received a phone call from the Headless Institute, and they phoned to say that Magda, she is dead. I am shocked because this is unexpected.
She goes straight to the Institute, but her mind is spinning with the grim news and questions surrounding her cousin's death.
An orderly comes to collect me from waiting room. She is a pretty young lady, around 25. She has on white overall. She says, I take your bag and coat, you wait here, I'll hang them in the other room. And then she disappears.
Suzanne is unaware that the pretty young woman is no hospital orderly, but a clever patient who seizes the opportunity and Suzanne's identity.
I wait for an hour, for nearly 2. At this, I think something is not right, so I make for the door.
Excuse me. You'll sit down there. Relax.
What are you doing? This is outrageous.
Only a man in white coat, he stops me from leaving. And he puts a hand on me and pushes me back inside the room.
Let go of me.
So angry, I strike his cheek.
Relax.
Let go of me.
Men rush in, and one of them, he has a needle and he jabs it in me.
Suzanne wakes up to a nightmare.
I start banging on the door.
Help! Help! Get me out of here! Who put
Her calls for help go unnoticed. Mingling now with the other residents of the asylum, she has one last hope to regain freedom.
I speak to a woman.
I'm not supposed to be here. Please go look for me. Please go look. I'm sorry.
Suzanne learns that the Erdos Institute of Mental Health is not the efficient hospital she originally thought it was. Past the reception area, patients are routinely restrained and drugged for days on end.
They give me more and more sedative. I am not able to speak. I cannot complain anymore. Days go by, weeks.
Fortunately for Suzanne, her nightmare doesn't last forever. The fugitive inmate is arrested for an unrelated offense. The Institute realizes the mistake. Meet Institute Director Dorica Istvan.
The first we were aware that something was not right was when the authority came in and wished to see Julashka Hunyadi. We went to fetch her from her room, and then they checked the photograph with their head against her and realized that is actually not Julashka Hunyadi, this is Susanna Selassie.
The Institute maintains it is blameless for its mistake.
According to the records, all our patients, 312 in total, were in. As we are doing a weekly head count, that's what the head count told us. So there was no any way that we could have known.
Suzanne is released with apologies from the Institute, but it offers her little comfort.
52 days. I spent 52 days in the Headless Institute. It's madness.
It may be madness, but do you believe this case of mistaken identity? Did it happen? As you consider the options, consider this mini-myth. Mini-myth number 666. Drugs and babysitting don't mix. An Indiana couple found out the hard way that illegal drugs and babysitting don't mix. It was the 60s, and one evening they'd left their infant son in the care of a babysitter. After they left, the girl invited her boyfriend to come over, and the pair indulged in the hallucinogenic drug LSD. The parents phoned home during the evening to check on their son, only to be greeted by the obviously high babysitter. She told them everything was okay and that she'd put their turkey in the oven. They hung up and raced home because they didn't have a turkey. They feared the worst, but arriving home found the babysitter passed out and the baby sleeping soundly in a cold oven. Is this true? No. This story started circulating in the 60s as a warning against illicit drug use. It's time to tell the truth about our 3 stories. Did the Hungarian librarian get locked up at the mental institution when she was mistaken for one of the patients? Was it true? No, false. Stories of sane people being locked up in a mental hospital have been circulating since the 50s, and they all play to our fears of mistaken or stolen identity, but they're just not true. Did the frustrated golfer end up being lunch for an alligator at the water hazard? No, it's false. This is a popular urban legend that was passed off as fact when it surfaced on the internet in 1998. No news organization found the story fit to be reported as fact because there aren't any facts. Although alligators have been known to bite golfers, they've never devoured them. Golf courses with these living water hazards warn golfers to give the gators a wide berth. But usually, it's the reptiles that prefer to steer clear of humans. So that leaves André Messager, the man who fell into a sewer during a raging storm, traveled almost 2 miles, but managed to stop before being swept out to sea. It's totally true.
This is the drain where the lady found me eventually, 2.5 meters underneath this little grill.
I think Monsieur Messager is really very lucky. He had the presence of mind to put on his helmet, plus he was very fit. Not everyone could have survived a situation like that.
One wrong step turns out to be an amazing story of survival and luck. And it's all true. Were you able to guess correctly? Well, if you promise to watch where you're walking, you can join us again for another episode of Urban Legends.